Yeah. I mean, global currency. It's a tough walnut to crack, right? Because an extent requires people. It requires people. I shouldn't say people. It requires governments to want that to happen. Um, and I think a great example of this is when Facebook tried to launch Libra a couple years back. Facebook has, a third, a quarter of the world's entire population using it. So they're like, yeah, we're going to release our own cryptocurrency for payments to like 2 billion people all over the world. And they're just going to use it. And governments were like, no, right. They put the ban hammer on it and just rubber stamped. And they were like, no way, no how. And they buried them under legislation, and they're still working through it today. Even though Facebook is working on their own cryptocurrency wallet now. Um, and it's because that idea of a universal currency takes away power from local governments to impose uh, monetary policy on their citizens. They lose control of their population in that way because they don't have the infrastructure to support Facebook's currency, right? People can't pay their taxes in it, and governments want people to pay taxes. And I pay my taxes, and there's taxes are a good thing when they are applied properly. But that concept that something is bigger than the government currency, and that they won't have control over the money, and they won't have control over the population of that country is really terrifying to a lot of governments. So do I want a universal currency? Absolutely. That's in part what Load and AGX and AUX that we produce are trying to do, right? Stable money that people can use, send and spend everywhere in the world. But we have to work really slowly to get to that point. I have to work with regulators in 135 different countries, um, to get permission to have this type of currency be accessible to the people of that country. And that's not an easy thing to do. That is like lawyers and legal calls and documents and diagrams, enough to give you a headache, right? Enough to give you a headache. And, um, you know, I don't know if, I don't know if there ever going to be like one true universal currency, but certainly there are a lot of people vying for that, right? There, and us included, right? China, the United States dollar at this point is kind of considered the global reserve currency, meaning that um, you go to most places in the world, you hand them a U.S. dollar, and they're going to be like, yeah, sure, I'll take it, right?
Yeah.
Because it's basically used almost everywhere. Um, compared to if I go to like if I come to Canada and I try to give a local merchant a Chinese yuan, they'll probably be like, no, we don't accept that there, right? So China is, for example, trying to unseat the United States dollar's dominance there and try to have their money, become the new world currency. Facebook tried to become the new world reserve currency, but I think in the future most people will hold a basket of these currencies, right?
Yeah.
There won't be just one that everybody flocks to. Everybody will hold a little bit of Bitcoin. Everybody will hold a little bit of gold and silver, and we're going to pay with whatever makes sense to us, right? It's not like there's going to be one. This isn't Highlander. There can only be one, this is not Lord of the Rings. It's not one ring to rule them all. We're going to have a basket of things that people hold on to. And that's interesting because this kind of way of holding our money and our wealth is something that um, this type of learning and financial literacy is something that is new to the middle class. Um, like maybe if you were like upper middle class or you took financial courses in school, you would have an understanding that everybody should hold, stocks, bonds, ETFs, real estate, and maybe keep about 10% of your holdings in cash. That information used to kind of be like private, or you would only learn it if you were privileged. But now, because of the internet and because of, because in part of cryptocurrency movement, this kind of financial literacy and this kind of stuff is coming forward a lot more, and more people are understanding that stuff. That type of how to build wealth for themselves, and that's a great thing. That's power to the people. I love to see that kind of stuff happen. Um, So yeah, I mean that's kind of my thought on global reserve currencies. It's a slow, long haul. Eventually we'll get there, but there's going to be a basket of these currencies that people hold. It's not going to be one